Weather is the most complicated, simple thing on Earth because while a million things make it hard to predict, these two things make it easy to understand. Hey there, curious minds, Dave here. In today's video, we talk about the why behind the weather, from air masses to wind and humidity to hurricanes, and we start with air masses. And air takes on the characteristic of the place where it's hanging out. So over the North Pacific Ocean, the air is cool from weaker sunlight and humid from evaporating ocean water. Over the deserts of northern Mexico, it's dry and hot. You get it. Take the Earth as a whole, and there is an array of what are called air masses blanketing the planet, each one with a uniform temperature and moisture content. Pair a moisture content with a temperature, and you have yourself an air mass. For example, if it's dry and cool, we call that continental polar, and if it's warm and humid, it's maritime tropical. Just calling it dry and cool would be boring, so scientists decided to spice it up a little bit with some new vocab. And these air masses hitch a ride with the second thing you need in order to understand the weather: global winds. Not the local ones you feel outside, but the real deal, high up in the atmosphere. Let's start here at the equator, where it's always warm and the air is always rising. But when the air leaves, there isn't a vacuum of no air with people trying to catch their breath. Air from just north or south of the equator flows into the region to fill in the gap. Like this aquarium, if I pull a bunch of water up from the middle, it doesn't leave an empty space where the container was. Water flows in from the sides to even it all out. But to make it interesting, when the air comes down from the north or up from the south, because the Earth is rotating, something curious happens. Imagine this paper is the top half of the Earth. As the Earth rotates, I'll draw a line straight down from the North Pole. Well, that's weird. The line curved to the right. It's easier to see from this perspective. Between 30 and 60 degrees latitude, air is moving from south to north, and also curves to the right. This is called the Coriolis Effect, and explains the motion of everything from tornadoes to hurricanes. And if you zoom out to look at the whole planet, you end up with 6 global wind belts of air rising and sinking at different latitudes and curving because of the Earth's rotation. So you're hanging out somewhere, and global winds bring in new air masses, and with them, new weather. Here in the United States, this brings most of our weather from the west, but sometimes it can come up from the east at lower latitudes. And this explains why, when flying from Colorado to Nebraska, the states may have different air masses and totally different weather. Colorado's air mass being cooler and dry from the west, and Nebraska's warm and humid from the Gulf of Mexico. Geographically close, but meteorologically far apart. And now the paths of a hurricane becomes clear. They form in a wind belt pushing them west, then enter the next one up that goes back east. It's not random, it's the Coriolis effect. Air masses and global winds are a dynamic duo that keep us on our toes. But it's also important to understand that not all things you experience with weather have to do with air masses and global winds. Here in Colorado, it was 43 degrees when I woke up, and it's going to top out at 81 this afternoon. And that's primarily because of our climate, how we're really high in elevation and nowhere near an ocean. So as Mark Twain said, if you don't like the weather, just wait a few minutes.